Hey guys, it's Eric with Flex Innovations, Frsky North America, and K-Bar Lighting Systems here. And this is pretty much the end of the year for me, so I wanted to do an overview of basically my equipment install and all my settings and everything on my Edge 540 G1.5 here. So I call it G1.5 for a couple reasons that I'll get into later, but this is a G1 Edge with some enhancements. So anyway, let's dive into this and I'll show you what I'm running. Okay, so I got the plane all rolled out here. Just got done with a flight with it a couple minutes ago. So like I said in the intro, it's just, I love this plane. It's so much fun. It really fits my flying style. It's really stable, but it's still pretty dang crisp. It's got a lot of tail authority. The green scheme really pops too. Big fan of that now that I've had it for a season. It wasn't my first choice, but when my G1 was, or G2, excuse me, was back ordered, this was a suitable replacement. I've got my G2 now, and I'll be putting that together over the winter. But still, this will be kind of my backup plane going forward. So still a sweet plane. Hope this isn't the last time I get to fly it for a while. I really like it. So anyway, we'll get to the important stuff here. Up front here, we got a DA120. You know, the tried and true. There's not much more that needs to be said about them. It's been a good motor for me. It's been my best DA out of the few I've had. It's on slimline stock mufflers right now, and I plan to keep it that way. They work. I don't have any issues with noise around here, noise complaints, so no need for pipes or anything. My G2 might get a set of pipes, but I haven't fully decided there yet. Baffling wise, I do this a little different than kind of what's supposed to be done. I use just EVA craft foam and do baffles on the inside here. I don't do anything. So the stock ones come with a big partition that kind of goes back here to help force the air around the cylinders, and not just kind of to get stuck up top. I've never had that problem, so I never installed it, and my engine's been running plenty cool. And yeah, I've had no issues. It's baffled like a G2, so I didn't do anything out of the ordinary. Just glued some foam together and slapped them in there, and I'm running temp wise about 200 to 250 degrees on a normal, 70 to 80 degree summer day. Now that it's October, it's 50 degrees out right now when I'm flying and recording this. It's maybe 175 degrees at most when I land, but still not bad at all. Up front here, we got a Flex Innovations spinner, the 5-inch edge style spinner that matches this plane and the G2. And then a Falcon 28 by 9.5 carbon fiber prop, and it's painted silver and white. It matches the scheme pretty well. It looks nice. I've been really liking this prop. I'm not a huge speed guy when it comes to this stuff, so I like the 28 9.5 because it's a good balance. So when I'm doing more IMAX style stuff or demos, when I'm trying to get across the field fast to time stuff to music, it's still got good speed, but I think it's got a little more torque and a little more pull out of the hovers and stuff, which I like. I'm pretty hard on the throttle with that stuff, so it's nice to have the extra grunt. And it being a 120cc plane, you're going to get quite a bit of grunt. So anyway, we'll kind of go underneath here quick, and I'll show you what the bottom looks like. Mks Hv 1250 throttle servo. This is going to be really hard to see, but you can see I've kind of flipped the arm on the 120 carb. What I did is I took one of the pull rudder horns that come with the plane, and I basically made a big adapter bracket that allows me to use that as my throttle linkage. Works really well. You can see the ignition module right there, and then my fuel line going up. One kind of unique thing I do with that is up here, and I'll show this in more spots on the plane. I use some fuel tubing as like basically chafing protection, so it doesn't wear through the fuel line. I do that in quite a few spots. You can't really see it here, but it is there. Use spiral wrap on all the leads. I see one of my blocks fell off, but that's okay. Otherwise, pretty standard. Got the little vent dot right there. And then you can see I painted the wheel pants white. Basically, I had a wheel fall off, which it was not the plane's fault. Not anything wrong with that. That was completely my fault. I took the wheel off to put some other wheels on it, and I forgot to tighten the lock collar and smashed the wheel pants up pretty good. And I wasn't in a position to get matched paint right away, and I needed to have it done for an event. So we just went with white, and honestly, I'm kind of digging the look of it. Now that I've got probably 15 flights on the plane with them, I really like it. So anyway, moving on here. Next thing I'll talk about quick is my servo setup. So I'm running Savox 2290s on all of the surfaces. We'll get down underneath the plane so you can see, but pretty standard setup here. These are the waterproof 2290s. Really the only reason for that is that's what was in my last plane. That's what all this equipment was in. So just airframe swapped it when I joined Flex this year. And then the only thing I've changed on here from factory is I went to dual ball links just for the insurance. I did have one fail on me, so just, yeah, for the cheap insurance, it's nice to have the nice Dubro links. I'm using the Flex Innovation servo arms. These are the 2-inch servo arms. That's the only size we offer, but they do have 2-inch all the way down to 1.25-inch holes. I'm in the 1.5 location for the wings. I couldn't quite get enough travel with the 1.25, so I'm at about 120% travel on my Frsky radio, and I'm getting 38 degrees up, 37 degrees down. So the endpoints work out really well. These are synced really nicely, so they're very linear and they work really well. So not too much out of the ordinary there. I think I did move them, kind of offset the arms a tooth to get the really linear travel, which sometimes you need to do, sometimes you don't. Depends on the plane. The G2 you don't have to. The G1, the control horn locations are a little different, so it is helpful to do that sometimes. And I played with the PWM center to get them centered to not lose any travel, and it works really well. So same servos on the tail here, 2290s with the 2-inch arms. I'm in the 2-inch hole, and I'm getting basically bevel to bevel throw. A lot of tail authority. The other thing I do here is I use M3 thumb bolts. These are from an SFG of a plane that's no longer with us. So I use them just on the tail. It's just a little easier. I can use my fingers instead of trying to get a screwdriver in there, because I do have to take the tail off to fit this in the car if I just take the car, or sometimes in the trailer, depending on what other planes we have in there. So same thing on this side. Just wanted to show you quick the rudder servo. So again, 2-inch hole. Nothing fancy here. Had a little bit too much throw there for a while, and I was denting the wood. But I did paint all the control horns white to match, so looks really nice. The other big thing here, I'll talk about this quick before I get to the inside. So when I said this is a G1.5, what I mean is this is a G1 airframe, but this has got the G2 Aero mods. So there's two big parts to that. Number one is up here with the engine. So I've gotten a lot of questions about this at events and stuff. Why is there such a big gap here? And that's because this engine is tipped down 2 degrees. Now, that is something we did to get it tracking just a little bit straighter, and just improve the roll tracking for both slow rolls and rifle rolls. I can say it tracks really nice now. So I need to make a little filler block or something for that. Just never took the time to do it. So that's why that gap's there. Basically, to get the spinner gap looking decent, I just 3D printed some little spacers and tipped the cowl forward. It's worked just fine. I've never had any issues, and really when it's in the air, you don't notice it, so I don't get too antsy about it. It's just fine as is. The other big thing is the rudder. You can see here, looking at the side profile of the rudder, the counterbalance is a lot shorter. So I cut 2¼ inches off of this one. I believe that roughly is what the G2 is cut down by compared to the G1. I don't know exactly, but that is what Jace told me back when he was still with Flex. So that's why I set this up that way. Cool thing about this one, I believe this is one of the later runs of G1 Edge, because this has a rudder pin. Not all of them had that, so I can take the rudder off, and it's really nice. It's basically standard now on every airframe from every manufacturer, but kind of a cool little thing on this one. Not all of them have it. So then looking in here, we'll take the canopy off. This is my final setup for the inside, so we'll just kind of ignore the little plastic bag for the battery connectors. I forgot tape at home and I had to improvise. I've had these plugs on here wearing out a little bit and I need to replace them after this year, but I've just been taping them together for now. So I did want to just show my battery placement was the big thing. So kind of on the inside here, standing straight up, these are Pulse 2S 3600 milliamp LiPos. One on each side, you know, keep it even. But that center of gravity point has worked really well. I just use one strap around them, and then you put Velcro on both sides so you can cinch them really tight. And then obviously Velcro on the wood here too. But got the flex fuel tank that comes with them. You know, just nothing fancy. I do use a brass tube on the inside. The straw works just fine. It's just I had tubing, so I did that. I do need to replace that eventually with some Viton, so I'll probably end up doing a straw over the winter, but that's what I had on hand when I put the plane together. So this is all the 1/8 inch ID Dubro Tygon tubing. I use it all the way around here. Vent, fill, and to the carb. Use the little line of tubing to keep them on there. And then kind of the last thing here is my receiver setup. So I fly with Frsky radios, and that means I've got a Frsky Tdr-18 receiver. So it's an 18 channel dual band receiver that operates on both 2.4 gigahertz and 900 megahertz. So there's a 2.4 antenna on the inside, and then there is one externally here. So I have that one going up, and then the other one's going that way for redundancy, both up and down, left and right. I have the 900 megahertz antenna right here going horizontal. You always want those going horizontal. And then what I do is I use a secondary receiver. It's kind of a satellite, but I call it a secondary receiver because they're both working at the same time. But if one fails, the other one takes over, and that does work. If this receiver loses signal for whatever reason, this basically just acts then as a power board, and the Tdmx will still work. So you can unbind the main receiver and the Tdmx, which is this little guy up here. It's just a 24 channel receiver that doesn't have servo pins. So you use it through S-Bus. We use it a lot with the Aura 8s, things like that. So that's just connected with one wire back to the receiver, and then I get an additional 2.4. I have one going that way, and I think one going kind of diagonal down. It's underneath here. And then I have another 900 right here going front and back, so I get kind of coverage in all directions. You know, just simple. Keep it simple. It works. It's good redundancy. And then I have my pin switch right here, so you just pull that, turn the plane on. See the receiver flashing. Put the pin back in here and shuts it off. I use Aero Ibec. You can't really see it. It's down there. Just simple, regulated to about 5.9 volts, I believe. I think that's it's an HV one, regulated to whatever the highest voltage is under 6 volts. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's somewhere in that neighborhood. And then finally, I guess I should probably mention wiring. I use Powerbox Maxi wire for everything, and I make all the extensions myself. And I use Mpx connectors on the wings And what I do with these is I'll remove the wires that come with these from the factory and solder on my own wires, so everything's the proper length. I use MR30 connectors on the tail. I can't really show that until I take the plane apart, but it's just a little nicer connector in my opinion. I don't have to use locking clips. It's just those little details. I really take pride in my builds with that stuff. So you know, everything's wire loomed, fastened really well, and just, yeah, try and keep everything secured, make it look nice. And yeah, there's not a lot that's special about this plane compared to other ones. You know, the Aero mods are probably the biggest thing, but otherwise it's, you know, kind of just a standard 120cc build. I just want to show where the batteries are, you know, for CG purposes, because that CG should work for a G2 as well. It's pretty much this kind of the standard area. We typically will run, you know, 3600s in this neighborhood. If you're running 2250s, be a little farther forward. Just depends, again, what batteries you're running. I get about 5 flights on this with these batteries and servos and everything, so it works. I don't have any complaints about it. I'm really happy with the plane. Like I said, it fits my flying style and I enjoy it, so we'll keep flying her, keep having fun with it. I'll toss some clips in at the end here of just the plane and, you know, from the season, just so you can see what it looks like in the air. But it's a lot of fun, so thank you guys for watching. Big shout out to my sponsors, Flex Innovations, Frsky North America, and K-Bar Lighting Systems for the support. Well, this wouldn't be possible without them. It's a really fun airplane, and I'm glad that I can use all their equipment on these planes. So with that being said, I don't think I have anything to add, so thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you out at the field next year.